Beijing, 2175. The city no longer slept. It hovered. Above the ancient bones of old Beijing, a second world had been built, not on streets but in layers. Steel arteries threaded the sky in luminous bands, carrying silent mag-rail trains that slid through the air like ghosts. Elevated transit loops intersected and diverged, weaving through megastructures of glass, carbon alloy, and living polymer. Every surface shimmered with data. Every tower pulsed with commerce. Below, the original streets still existed, but they were shadows now, drowned in the glow of a newer, faster, cleaner civilization that had learned how to monetize the sky itself. Autonomous traffic moved like schools of luminous fish between corporate spires. Drones stitched advertisements into the fog, their holographic projectors painting the night with smiling faces, luxury products, and promises of a better life for those who could afford it. Neon Chinese characters pulsed across the skyline like living calligraphy, each stroke a brand, a subsidiary, a financial entity with its own gravity. There was no darkness anymore, only different intensities of light. Distant air traffic whispered constantly overhead. It was not the sharp roar of engines, not anymore. In 2175, flight had become a language of vibration rather than sound, a layered hush that passed through glass and steel like breath through fabric. The low hum of the city was never truly silent, a mechanical ocean, breathing, shifting, reorganizing itself second by second. Beneath it, softer tones lived, transit rails gliding, drones threading the night, data currents whispering between towers. Soft digital chimes drifted through the air like synthetic wind. On the 23rd floor, high above all of it, within the Xuanjing Judean Hotel, the world narrowed to a single immaculate room. Here the city was reduced to light and vibration. The suite existed in a state of suspended perfection, designed not for comfort, but for control. Nothing was accidental. Every surface had been engineered to reassure investors, diplomats, and executives that chaos could be excluded, that disorder could be sealed outside with the view. The bathroom looked less like part of an apartment and more like a medical wing aboard a starship. White light, cool light, clean, surgical, flawless. The walls were seamless, pale, reflective, embedded with invisible interfaces that responded to voice, heat, and gesture. The floor adjusted subtly beneath her feet, sensing her body temperature, calibrating to maintain an ideal environment. The air carried no scent, not even soap, filtered until it became almost theoretical. Sterility, she knew, was a kind of luxury. Nuying stood at the counter, both hands braced against the polished surface. For a long moment she did not move. The mirror's light was merciless. It revealed not only the architecture of her face, but the private mathematics of doubt that lived beneath it. It caught every shadow she believed existed, every softness she feared the world would calculate as weakness. Her reflection met her, a woman who had signed her future away in ink, code, and biometric confirmation. Black hair cut into a precise bob that framed her jawline with a corporate elegance. A style that suggested discipline, competence, neutrality. Skin smooth, carefully maintained, touched by just enough color to remain visible under unforgiving light. Her makeup, dark wine lips, shadowed eyes, was understated, flawless, and expensive. Nothing excessive, she thought. Nothing emotional, she hoped. The woman in the mirror looked composed. She did not feel composed. Her breath was soft, barely audible, and controlled the way she had learned to control everything since childhood. Control was safety. Control was survival. In a world that traded in performance metrics and projected futures, composure was currency. "I must be insane," she whispered. The words dissolved into the quiet machinery of the room, absorbed by vents and processors that did not care. "I don't even know this man." The confession lingered longer in her chest than in the air. Her eyes moved slowly, critically, over herself. The silk beneath her robe caught the light in soft, dangerous ways. The fabric did not conceal, it suggested. It flowed over curves that did not conform to the narrow geometry celebrated in corporate beauty algorithms. Her body was not the fragile shape praised in old advertisements. It was fuller, warmer, real. A body that had worked, studied, endured. A body that had carried late nights, examinations, contracts, negotiations, compromises. A body that had been measured by men before, and dismissed. Not because it lacked beauty, but because it refused to be minimal. She adjusted the collar of the robe, then stilled, her fingers tightening. The silence pressed in. She remembered the signatures, the biometric scan. the calm, polite voices that had explained the advantages of this union as if they were presenting a portfolio diversification strategy. Marriage, in this world, was no longer merely personal. It was geopolitical. It was corporate architecture. A woman's name could open markets. A man's passport could close them. Together, they could do both. A distant elevator chime echoed faintly through the walls. Muted voices drifted through the glass corridor beyond the suite, efficient, anonymous, uninvested in the transaction occurring behind sealed doors. Nu Ying. The voice reached her before the man did. Deep, American, controlled. "Are you all right in there?" Her throat tightened, a reflex she did not permit to become visible. "Yes," she answered too quickly. The word sounded smaller than she intended. Silence returned. The building breathed around her. Ventilation systems adjusted. Pressure equalized, light modulated. The hotel responded, as it had been designed to do, to human presence without ever acknowledging human emotion. She closed her eyes. This was not love. This was an acquisition. A merger of bloodlines, passports, corporate leverage, and strategic optics. A contract sealed with a ring, a signature, and a body. Somewhere in a boardroom far from this suite, her marriage already existed as a line item, a projection, a risk assessment. She was not a bride, she was a variable. Her pulse steadied, her spine straightened. She turned away from the mirror and stepped out, leaving behind the woman she had been, and carrying with her the woman the world now required her to become. The door slid open without a sound, and the negotiation continued. The hotel suite was vast, larger than her current apartment. Larger than most family homes in the old districts, a space designed not for living but for demonstration. Wealth here was not cozy, it was architectural. The walls were alive with soft auroral light, shifting in slow programmed gradients of blue, gold, and violet, like distant nebulae breathing in silence. The ceiling simulated a far-off starfield, elegant and deliberate, constellations moving just slowly enough to remind the viewer that time itself was being curated. Floor-to-ceiling glass revealed Beijing as a living galaxy beneath them. Streams of aerial traffic, floating rails, neon hieroglyphs, and corporate spires burning against the night. The city did not sleep. It calculated. Stephen Muhammad stood near the window, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing nothing but his boxers. Light traced the planes of his well-toned mahogany skin, highlighting a body shaped by discipline rather than vanity. His stance carried the quiet economy of a man long accustomed to command, not dramatic, not aggressive, but inevitable. Power had not made him loud. It had made him precise. He turned to Nu Ying. Their eyes met. Nu Ying lowered her head, one hand instinctively moving to her body, as if to shield it, to apologize for it, to make it smaller. "Do you mind," she said, "if we dim the lights?" He studied her, not unkindly. "Why?" Her fingers tightened in the fabric. "My body is not like the women you're used to." A pause, then a quiet laugh, not mocking, not dismissive, almost surprised. "If I wanted a thin woman," he said evenly, "I would not have married you." "You only married me as a means to an end." He stepped closer, the city's light sliding over his face, his hands, the ring on his finger, the same ring now mirrored on hers. "I could have married any woman I wanted to serve my needs. I could have picked a thinner woman to serve as a means to an end. But I chose you." "But why?" Nu Ying asked nervously. "You are special. You are a fighter, and you don't even know it. Come here." The word was not loud. It did not need to be. She moved. Not because she was commanded, but because the space between them had become unbearable, heavy with unspoken calculations and unwanted longing. His hand lifted, not touching, hovering near her jaw. "Nu Ying," he said softly, "and yet, you married me as a means to an end. However, that does not mean I don't find you desirable." Her breath caught. "I have not been touched," she said after a moment, "in a very long time." "I am sorry. If you want, we don't have to—" Before Stephen could continue, Nu Ying raised her hand. "But I do." Her voice was steady, but her body betrayed her. A slight tremor, a tension held too tightly for too long. Even though they had married not for love, Nu Ying saw something in his eyes now. Not ownership, not strategy, but genuine appreciation for her curvaceous shape. That was enough for her. It was not long before they guided each other to the bed. Neon light filtered through the glass, the room shifting from cool blue to warm amber, then to a deeper red gold, as if the city itself were responding. Fabric whispered. Breaths aligned. They kissed. Soon both were beneath the covers, the world narrowed to heat, proximity, and controlled, careful movement. When his lips brushed her cheek, it was not possession, it was permission. Outside, Beijing continued its endless circulation of capital and data. Inside, time slowed. She stiffened once. Instinct, memory, fear, and he felt it immediately. "Easy," he murmured. "I am not here to conquer you." She laughed, almost despite herself. "That is difficult to believe, Mr. Muhammad," he smiled. "Then allow me to negotiate." The kiss that followed was unhurried, measured, deliberate, a transaction of breath and warmth, not yet of bodies. Her hands found his shoulders, his pulse was steady, hers was not. She could hear the distant traffic, the low rhythmic hum of the mag rails passing through the building structure, like a mechanical heartbeat beneath their own. Much later, the room was dim, the city softened into abstraction beyond the glass. Nu Ying lay against his chest, her breathing finally calm. "Stephen," she said. "Yes." "What happens now?" He did not answer immediately, but then he spoke. "We build our empire." In the silence lived boardrooms, shareholders, immigration authorities, market expansions, and a future drafted by people who would never touch her life directly. "This marriage," he said at last, "is not only about us." She closed her eyes. "I know. It is about access, influence, protection, and survival. Mine," she said. "And mine," he corrected. "In this world, love is optional. Power is not." She shifted, considering. "You make it sound like war." "It is," he replied. "It is simply waged with contracts and, yes, with weapons." A distant siren wailed outside, sharp, brief, and then swallowed by the city. Nu Ying felt a chill that had nothing to do with temperature. "What if I regret this?" she asked. Stephen's arm tightened slightly around her. "Then you will learn what every empire learns," he said quietly. "Regret is a luxury of the powerless." Her breath slowed. The man beside her was not cruel. He was dangerous in a different way. And that, she realized, was what made him safe. The room settled into silence. The city breathed. And in that quiet, Nu Ying understood something no contract had explained. This was not a wedding night. This was the first move in a corporate war. And her body, her name, her future, were now part of the board.
The contracts lay abandoned.